also we need to enter the world of the unchurched so that we can relate the good news in terms they'll hear and understand. Again, on lingo, just the things we use all the time, justification, sanctification. These are all loaded terms for people who aren't in the church. And so, but we do have some other words that are very translatable. Love, mercy, forgiveness, grace. Those are very translatable. So, we are doing great on time. How do we see the world then? Well, the plan that is laid out, which seems to work pretty well, is to do it in two parts. Ask others to tell us about it, but then also to study it for ourselves. And so when we ask others about it, that means we have to talk to people. And I know it's the scariest thing for us to do. Talk to people. Well, it doesn't have to be trying to, evangelize somebody and get a commitment for Christ in 3 easy steps. That's not what this is about. This isn't the Billy Graham crusade. This isn't cold calls. This is just asking some simple questions that we might know the community. So, number one, interviews with community leaders. Go to the mayor, go to the principal of the local school, go to who's the new superintendent?
Dr. Barry Marlinberry.
Oh, okay. I was thinking he was the outgoing one. He's the
Dr. All is the one retired.
Dr. All was one retired. Okay, so Dr. Barry, maybe the police chief, the fire captain. Go to them and ask them a number of questions. And I've got those questions. I didn't bring them with me, but basically it's things like, what do you see as the greatest need in our community? If you knew someone who needed help, what kind of help would they need? And how can Redeemer be of service to this community? Or how can Redeemer be of help to this community? And it's the same 3 questions for all of these groups here. The last one there with regular folks in day-to-day situations. We tried to accomplish some of this with the postcard we did last year, and it was very earlier. We had 4 postcards returned. I think part of it was we tried to get too tricky, too complicated, too specific. We had 5 questions on there. We tried to finesse it. And we trusted our folks to just say, hey, just pass these around. Well, we have to be more, I think people are afraid to give it to people they know. That's what it comes down to. We aren't yet confident in talking about church with our friends and neighbors. It doesn't surprise me when only 15% of our families talk about God in the home. That's a statistic that goes across our denomination. That's why we have the Faith Legacy program, to help our families begin by talking in the home. So what we're going to do instead is we're not going to go door to door. We're not going to tell you have to ask 3 of your neighbors these questions. What we're going to do is we're just going to go simply to places where people hang out with a clipboard in hand and just ask these questions to people. And the reason why we say if you knew somebody who needed help, what kind of help would they need? Who are people going to think about first? Themselves. So these are probably real personal problems, but you word it in a way so that they're not having to identify those problems. So you say, if you knew somebody who needed help, because really, who needs help? Everybody needs some kind of help. And so what some churches have done is they've gone, Terry Tieman's actually taken his clipboard patrol into Lowe's and Walmart and just started walking around the store and asking people. And he's, of course, down, in Memphis, that's in the middle of the Bible Belt, and people don't get upset about that. We asked the Walmart here if we could survey folks in front, and they said only if you sell something. They wouldn't let you just ask a question. They wanted you to sell something. But, if you walk fast enough and keep moving, I'm not trying to be devious here, but I'm just saying there are ways we can find people to interview, and hopefully we can get 200 to 300 of these responses. If we had 50 people ask them a question, how many questions simple, pretty easy. You know, if we had a smaller group that went someplace, it would mean a few more, but either way, you can have these questionnaires filled out in pretty short order. And we've got some people who are pretty outgoing and would be willing to do that around here. So that's one of the things we're going to need to do, is we're going to need to divide up this work and ask these questions. I've already met with Mayor Copeland, but that was almost 2 years ago now. I know he'd welcome another visit by one of you all, and he will watch his watch, because he's only got 30 minutes per appointment, and his secretary keeps him on the nose. But you'll have to make sure you get your questions in, because he'll tell you lots of things going on about the city. He's a great politician, a great promoter of the city, but he wants to know too what Redeemer can do for the city. So, and he's interested in that. And then lastly, to study it, research. We've got some demographic resources that the district pays for that we can get, and they are loaded with information. So if we've got somebody here who's a real analytical type and would like me to give you access to that, and by May 4th, if we could then have just a small summary of what the demographics tell us about our neighborhood, we could have somebody that does that. We could also have somebody who's, I've already given Carissa and Justin the People of Passion notebook, workbook from TCN. That would be one example of a resource of some homework we could do as a congregation to prepare us for this visioning day, but also to find out other ways and learn of other ways that other congregations have done various things to bring the good news to the community. One of the things they do are called net fishing events. Basically, big events, whether it be a fun fair in the parking lot, or trunk or treat, or maybe a work day out in the community where the whole congregation's involved in touching the community in some way to get our face out there, some way to introduce ourselves to people so that we can start forming these relationships. It's all about relationships. And then lastly, just some people might do some research on practices which have proven effective or detrimental to our goals. So there's always good books out there. A lot of them aren't written by Lutherans, unfortunately, which is sad because I think we have a voice to add to the conversation. But there are clearly some churches, like you said, that are growing. They're doing something right, even if their doctrine isn't, and maybe it's their false doctrine that's fueling the growth. And that's where we need to be able to look at different things and say, well, no, this is independent of that, or yeah, that's totally works righteous growing, prosperity gospel church, of which I think the statistic is out of the top 50 churches in the United States, the 50 largest churches in the United States, 13 of them are what we call prosperity gospel. Basically, if you ask for it and love God enough, He'll give it to you. Now, that's false doctrine. That's not what God says. But it's popular. It draws people. So, we're going to divide up that work here in the next half hour. And we're going to do this work in there's three ways. I forgot about this first one. The first part is prayer mobilization. We're going to need a team of people who would like to lead this effort in the congregation. Basically, we need daily prayer. We need to bathe this in prayer, is the term that Terry team likes to use. Just cover it and smother it in prayer. Both by us here on the team, including our daily prayers, but also prayer cards, prayer calendars, prayer chains, prayer vigils. We should gather at some point with the whole congregation and do prayer vigils. Also, prayer walk. You can coordinate this with your interview team. For those of you who went out on the prayer walks last year and a half, we met a lot of people on the sidewalk who were willing to just